For the third straight year, we see the Cincinnati Bengals and Tennessee Titans play in Nashville. The Bengals looking to right the ship. The Titans looking to get back to 2-2. Which team will do it? Let's dive into Crossover Thursday.
You are Locked On Bengals, your daily Cincinnati Bengals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Crossover Thursday on the Locked On Podcast Network, and that means that two shows, Locked On Bengals, where I'm Jake Liscow and he's James Rapien, and Locked On Titans, where Tyler Rowland joins us today. We'll dive into a Week 4 matchup between the Tennessee Titans and the Cincinnati Bengals on the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. You can subscribe to each of these shows on YouTube or anywhere you get your podcasts. That makes it very easy to become part of that first listen club who makes Locked On their first stop in the podcast world every day, and the everydayers who don't miss an episode of these wonderful podcasts focused on your favorite football team. And this episode of Crossover Thursday, as always, brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use promo code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. Guys, we always start these Crossover Thursdays with the biggest stories for both teams. And Tyler, let's start with the Tennessee Titans, the home team, for the third straight year. And I know there was a playoff contest in there, so it's not just a quirk of the schedule. But I keep coming back to this. 3 straight years Tennessee gets to host this game against the Cincinnati Bengals. What's the biggest story in Nashville?
Is this the end, the beginning of the end? Or the end of the end, maybe is really what I need to say. Where the Titans are at right now as a team, I think there's a big question this week of, are the Titans truly going to have to pull Ryan Tannehill and give up their chances of winning? And from the outside, you know, it's easy for other NFL teams and fan bases to say, yeah, the Titans should have been tanking all along, blah, blah, blah. And I honestly agree with you. But for the Titans to admit that organizationally and pull Ryan Tannehill out and go to one of the young guys, that would be pretty surprising to happen this early. But if you get beat by Joe Burrow on one leg in your building, again, like you said, for a third straight year, and I mean, the Titans have never beaten Joe Burrow, not once in his career. If that happens and you go to 1-3 and Tannehill looks bad again, which it hasn't been all Ryan Tannehill's fault, and I'm sure we'll get into all of those different things. But if it looks bad again and the Titans are 1-3, they're going to have to seriously consider making some changes. And that's obviously the biggest storyline for the Titans going forward is, will they look that bad? Because if the Titans could do the opposite, if the Titans could finally slay the Joe Burrow dragon for the first time in his career, they could get a win over a team that has made the Titans look bad and has their number, quite frankly. From a schematic standpoint, the Bengals know exactly what the Titans are going to do, which they just saw last week in Jim Schwartz in Cleveland, who knows a good deal about the Titans. So for the Titans to get this win, that would be huge in the other direction. So it's a big crossroads for them early in the season, and that's the biggest storyline is, what team is this?
Yeah, for the Bengals, and you referenced it, Tyler, a few times, Joe Burrow. It's can they continue or at least tread water? They did on Monday night, but now short week, keep their head above water, stay afloat, get back to 500 in a 6-day span after starting 0-2 for a second straight year with Joe Burrow. You mentioned slay the Joe Burrow dragon, so I'll use a wing reference with one wing. I mean, he's clearly not going to be 100%. I think short week, that matters. I asked him about that after the game. He said he didn't really think about it when making a decision about Monday night. But man, we're already doing Crossover Thursday right now. I think it's you feel the short weeks just covering the team. And so playing in games, having to deal with a Titans defensive front led by Jeffrey Simmons, all of those things that we can talk about. I think that's the question here in Cincinnati. And that's the question for a Bengals team that entered the season with as high of hopes and expectations as they've ever had in team history. 56 years. Right. This is their 56th season. I don't think it's ever been this high from an expectation standpoint. And so we get it. They're banged up. They're not playing their best. Their franchise guy is playing through it and had I thought a great effort on Monday, especially looking back. He played pretty well.
Yeah.
But can he do it again and continue to do it when now the Titans know, all right, he's definitely limited and this offense is going to look a little bit different, maybe a lot different than what some expected coming into this season. Certainly when you looked at this game on the schedule a few months ago, it was like, oh, this could be a really tough one where the Bengals are going to spread it out and push it downfield. I'm not sure they're going to be able to do that. So how healthy is Joe Burrow and can they stay afloat? That is the story going into Sunday for the Bengals.
I've got a couple of commonalities that are borne out when you look at just some very surface level stats with these teams. They've both played the Browns this year. Titans very recently. The Bengals lost 24-3. Titans 27-3, correct?
Yes.
The teams are both 1-2. They've both given up 67 points this season. And the Bengals have scored one more point than the Titans this season, 46-45. So on the surface, without digging deeper into the trajectory of these franchises or the causes for either of these things,
no context.
Very similar teams in these few very surface level stats.
Yeah, I think that all of us as folks who watch football pretty regularly and have seen these two teams pretty regularly over the last few years know that these teams are not the same. There is hope for the Bengals to get out of that rut with the talent that they have. The Titans don't have that talent. So it's kind of, we're going to need to see something miraculous from the Titans for them to stay in the same conversation with the Bengals as the season goes on. But yeah, early on, both teams have been struggling for sure. It's just about who can rattle out of that. And I just, my big concern is the Titans don't have the personnel to get out of that. And we know that the Bengals do. But the question is, for me on the outside looking at the Bengals, how can Joe Burrow get healthy while he's continuing to play? And if he doesn't get healthy and get them out of this new version of their offense, then what is the ceiling? I think that's, at least from my outside, that's what I'm wondering is when does he get healthy? Can he get healthy as the season goes on?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a slow process where he really mentally, and I know he's approaching it this way, week to week, find a way to be ready on Sunday or Monday or whatever day they play, and then figure it out after that and slowly get a little bit better and a little bit better. And we'll see. We'll see if he can do that. That is a big thing to take on. And the downside is, you're right, he might have to deal with this all season long, but is that worse than him being shut down for 6 weeks or 7 weeks or 8 weeks, which it could take up to that long to get him completely right. And even then there's no guarantee. Like, I think that they're making the right decision here, but it's one of those things I think we're going to be talking about. And Jake and I are going to be watching that right calf every practice, every day for the foreseeable future, whether we like it or not. And man, that's something, if you're Jeffrey Simmons, if you're this Titans defensive front, you're certainly looking at, because he didn't move much on Monday night. And I think that's probably going to be the case for a bit longer.
It's one of those things where Burrow said this after the game. Every day he doesn't make it worse is a day that it can get a little bit better. And it will be a slow process. And Brian Callahan on Wednesday said that Burrow being injured is not an excuse for this offense, that expects to still be playing at a much higher level than we've seen from them so far this season. Coming up next, guys, let's get into some of those matchups. We'll dive beyond the surface level statistics and similarities between these teams I just referenced. We'll do that next. Today's episode of Crossover Thursday is brought to you by Harry's. And no matter why you shave, whether it's cleaning up your neckline like Tyler and I, or going to a baby face like James Rapien, Harry's has you covered for the best shave of your life at a price you'll love. You can get a starter set, which is a $13 value, for just $3 at harrys.com/NFL. What does it include? You get a 5-blade German engineered razor, weighted handle, foaming shave gel, and a travel cover for just $3. And you can schedule delivery for refills for as low as $2, about half of what you pay for other blades. They've got creams, washes, lotions that'll keep your skin healthy and hydrated, and make their own blades in Germany that will stay sharp. And guys who've tried it say their 8th shave is as sharp as their first. No reason not to try Harry's. They've got the highest customer satisfaction rating in the shaving industry. And like I said, $13 value starter set for just $3 right now at harrys.com/NFL. That's harrys.com/NFL for a $3 starter set.
Today's show is also brought to you by Schultz Jewelers here in Cincinnati. And yes, I love Matt Schultz and Schultz Jewelers. If you're looking for the perfect diamond for her, maybe you're thinking of popping the question. Maybe you just want to get her some earrings or a custom piece that is unique to her. Well, Schultz Jewelers is going to be able to guide you in the right direction. And you're talking about a jewelry store that has been in place and in existence for over 70 years. Matt Schultz is a diehard Bengals fan, loyal listener to Locked On Bengals. And so he's going to steer you in the right direction, ask you the right questions, and make sure that you go home happy without hurting your wallet. They have lab-grown diamonds, so you can get a dream ring for her without hurting your wallet, whether you want a unique custom design, top-rated permanent jewelry, earrings, necklaces like Chad Johnson during the Ring of Honor ceremony on Monday night. Regardless, they have you covered, and they're at 2202 Dixie Highway in Fort Mitchell, 5 minutes from the bridge into Kentucky. You can check them out online as well at schulzdiamonds.com. That's schultzdiamonds.com. We know the Bengals strive for perfection. Schultz Jewelers does too, because when it has to be perfect, it has to be Schultz Jewelers.
All right, guys, let's dive into some matchups here. And we all have our own ideas about the most important matchups in this game. Tyler, again, host team, you have the honors. As you look at this game from a Titans perspective, and I know you like to dive in and grind the tape, what are you looking at as the biggest matchups in this contest?
Okay, so for me, the biggest one is the Titans offensive line against the Bengals defensive line. Not only because the Titans offensive line simply hasn't been very good, at least certain parts of the Titans offensive line have rendered it into not being very good, but also because the Bengals schematically understand how to attack what the Titans like to do. The Titans are an outside zone run team, but if that's not there, they like to go inside zone. And a lot of the times when teams stack the line of scrimmage and bring their linebackers up to the line of scrimmage, and kind of run, it's almost like the 6-1, but then they bring an additional person, and it's almost like a 6-man front with 2 guys behind it. The Bengals like to stack the line of scrimmage against the Titans, and what they do is they dive in behind the Titans double teams. So the Titans like duo, inside zone. We're not having that debate right now. That can wage on forever, but there are 2 double teams up front for the Titans, and what the Browns were doing and what the Bengals have been doing for a few years is kind of sneaking their defensive ends and pinching their defensive ends in and sliding behind those double teams, and you're just getting straight penetration into the backfield, and the tight ends can't help but let the defender cross their face. There's no way they can make that block. So the Bengals are just coming downhill, and something Jim Schwartz said last week after the win against the Titans was, stop the run on your way to the quarterback. And that's what the Bengals have been doing to the Titans for years. And Schwartz knows it because he was there watching it happen to the offense on the other side of the ball. So he knew exactly what to do. And the Bengals were the ones doing that early on. So it's just so much pressure coming down against the Titans tight ends and the Titans offensive tackles, trying to stop so much penetration at the line of scrimmage. If the Titans offensive line doesn't have a better plan and they don't have a better attack to help their offensive line and get the ball out quickly and not ask them to deal with this penetration constantly, they have to take advantage of that in some way to relieve that pressure. That's in the run game. But in the pass game, it's all about Trey Hendrickson stopping his rush, helping Andre Dillard. Andre Dillard has allowed 6 sacks this year. That is double the next closest offensive tackle. Double.
Yeah.
I mean, like he got destroyed by Myles Garrett last week, and a lot of it was Tim Kelly, the offensive coordinator for the Titans, is not giving proper help And they're trying to do different things where they have 2 tight ends on one side and slide the protection and let the 2 tight ends stop the main rusher and do all these. And then you only have 3 people out in routes. It's just not a feasible plan. So the Titans have to help Andre Dillard, and they have to have adjustments based on what they put on tape last week that will allow them. Because did you guys see the viral clip of Myles Garrett running back and forth between the center and the offensive tackle and the Titans tight ends going back and forth to follow him, and the Titans get a delay a game? Have to call a timeout. Yeah. They have to adjust off that because the Bengals are going to see that the Bengals saw that stuff first. So once they see it reaffirmed on the tape from last week, they're just going to do it even more. So the Titans better have adjustments to help their poor offensive line, especially their lowly left tackle, Andre Dillard.
Yeah, I think that's such a huge factor in this game because if you're the Titans, you obviously want to do what you've wanted to do in all of these matchups. Get Derrick Henry going. Get him free at the line of scrimmage so he can pick up some steam. And when you have DJ Reader and even Mike Hilton blitzing off the edge, this Bengals defense has found a way to keep him in check and not allow him to take over.
Which is why it's time to move on, which is why the Titans need to quit that, load the box, get 8 in there, Derrick Henry, hammer him. It's done. It's over. They have to move past that. And this week they need more shotgun runs, more Tajay Spears, more ways to help their offensive line and to throw the ball with efficiency on early downs. So you're right. That's what they've wanted to do. But if they keep trying to do it, they will lose and lose and lose.
Yeah. I think that's it, right? Is can you get to Tannehill so that they don't have a new wrinkle on offense and try to lean in on Henry and go that route, force some turnovers. All of those things have worked. But the biggest matchup to me, I'm going to flip it. And it's because there's the most valuable calf in NFL history is going to be on the field. And so can the Bengals keep Burrow clean? And they dropped back 50 plus times last week on Monday night, 49 throws. It was a lot. And I think we know what this offense is going to be. They're going to run a lot of shotgun. They'll run it when they need to. Joe Mixon had 19 carries the other night and was pretty good, I think, and had the 14-yard touchdown and continues to run hard. So that, to me, keeping Burrow upright, keeping him clean, not letting Jeffrey Simmons and that Titans defensive front just get to him and get to Burrow and disrupt what the Bengals want to do offensively, because their margin for error, if it's going to be this dink and dunk offense that isn't pushing the ball down the field, it's just not there. One drop derails a drive, a sack derails a drive, a tackle for loss. It makes it really, really hard to sustain drive. So the margin for error, like I said, is not there. And it starts, I think, in the trenches, keeping Burrow upright and making sure there aren't many negative plays on offense.
Yeah, I have like a panic attack when you explain that stuff, James, because that's what the Titans offense has been for 25 years since I've been a fan. I'm just like writhing in pain as you say those things with like flashes of red everywhere. But you're 100% right. Sorry, Jake. But oh man, that was triggering, really.
It's a hard way to live. And we've seen it in Cincinnati with Andy Dalton at times as well. They get behind the chains. They can't overcome that. With Joe Burrow, they've been able to. And there are even examples where Burrow clearly not at 100%, not able to plant that back leg, can't complete passes on a 3rd and 18 to an open Ja'Marr Chase that we're very used to seeing Joe Burrow complete. And I think that's the big question is, can they push the ball downfield with Joe Burrow with a really good interior? Danico Autry, we cannot forget, on that Titans defensive front. Very, very good player. Not as worried about the edges this week, but the interior for the Bengals offensive line will need to play better. If you had to isolate one player, though, Tyler, as we're talking about Joe Burrow and Trey Hendrickson on the Bengals side of things, who is the one most important player that can help the Titans win this game?
Christian Fulton, cornerback. So far this year, he's played in 2 games. When you target Christian Fulton right now, a perfect 158.3 passer rating. When you target Christian Fulton. Last week against Amari Cooper, he allowed 4 targets, 4 catches, 95 yards, and a touchdown. Should have been 150 yards and a second touchdown because Amari Cooper was not out of bounds and was ruled out of bounds on a play that you guys might have saw. The Browns kind of got jobbed on that one, but hey, NFL officiating happens on both sides every week. So Christian Fulton going against Ja'Marr Chase, because last week, at least from my perspective, my trained eye here, it just looked like, hey, find Ja'Marr Chase. He's going to get open quick enough to where I can get this ball out of my hands. Well, even if you know it's coming with Ja'Marr Chase, can you stop it? I don't know if Christian Fulton can. We've seen Christian Fulton have good performances. He's played Jamar Chase okay at times, and it's Jamar Chase, so he's going to win more than he loses. But really, if Christian Fulton is the version of Christian Fulton we saw against Amari Cooper last week, then the Titans, even if their pass rush is good, we saw the Titans sack Joe Burrow 9 times in a game and the Bengals won. So Jeffrey Simmons could have 10 sacks on his own, and I still think the Bengals win the game because the Titans can't cover and Christian Fulton can't cover Jamar Chase. So if Christian Fulton has an insane day and guards Chase well, the Titans have a shot. But if not, there's nothing they can do, even if Jeffrey Simmons is superstar X factor all game.
And we'll see what the Bengals do with Jamar Chase, moving him around a ton in week 3. Coming up next, we'll get to what needs to go right outside of Christian Fulton covering Jamar Chase for each of these teams to win, and get some score predictions before we get out of here. We'll finish the show there next.
All right, guys, want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is daily fantasy football made easy. I'm not kidding you. You can make your entry in less than 60 seconds. And if you win, you can win up to 25 times your money. Here's all you have to do. You look at the PrizePicks projections. You're not playing against a bunch of pros, a bunch of sharks, 1,000 bots. It's just you against the projections. PrizePicks is going to say Patrick Mahomes, 2 passing touchdowns. Travis Kelce, 50 receiving yards. Jamar Chase, 100 receiving yards. And all you do is say whether that player is going to have more or less than what PrizePicks says. It literally could not be easier than that. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use the code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. Once again, that's prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks, it's daily fantasy sports made easy.
Let's talk about what needs to happen for these football teams to win. And Tyler, you just talked a lot about Christian Fulton, so I'm going to take the pulpit for the Bengals side here to start. James, what needs to go right for the Cincinnati Bengals to go on the road in Nashville for the 3rd straight time with the limitations we've discussed on Locked On Bengals and win this game?
Well, the blueprint is going to be the same, I think, week to week, and certainly a team like the Titans. Zach Taylor on Wednesday saying that this is just like an AFC North matchup because it's going to be extremely physical. You have a team that likes to run the ball, even though Tyler might not want to see that with Derrick Henry as much and spread it out a bit more. But I think that's the key is forcing multiple turnovers like you did on Monday night, making the Titans one-dimensional and pressuring Ryan Tannehill. And we've seen it. We saw it in the divisional round a few years ago. That blueprint certainly works against this Titans offense. Can you continue that? And if you can, then I think you're going to put your team in a really good position because you trust that Joe Burrow can make good decisions, even if the offensive line isn't able to protect at the level that they did on Monday night. And I think they should be able to. We'll see. But you expect Joe Burrow to make the right decisions. And that's why he's out there, even though he's at less than 100%. So we know the blueprint. Defense, it's probably going to be ugly, low scoring. That's a hint at what my prediction will be. I'm not expecting any 70-point outbursts. Even between both teams combined, you might be able to multiply it by 2 and just barely touch 70. So I think that this could be a low-scoring, ugly game for offensive standards. It might not show up on NFL Red Zone much on Sunday. At the same time, I think the Bengals are comfortable playing that way and are going to have to play that way a bit if they are going to win, keep their head above water, and get to 500.
Tyler? Titans perspective, Christian Fulton aside, what else needs to go right for the Titans to win? Pass the ball, right?
I mean, obviously, as part of that, Christian Fulton has to play, but, Jeffrey Simmons in the pass rush obviously has to factor. They have to get Burrow to the ground. They missed 5 sacks on Deshaun Watson last week. Made him look like Hercules out there. It was pretty disappointing for what you expect from the Titans pass rush, which is by far the best part of their roster and of their team. So they got to play better and they got to get Burrow on the ground, and Burrow won't be anywhere near as mobile as Watson was, obviously. So they got to get to Burrow. But the secondary has to do enough to allow that to even matter and cover early. That's why I think the Titans need to play a bunch of tight press man. I know it opens up opportunities to go downfield. But I think that's the only advantage that you have is Burrow's hurt. And it's not just that he wants to get the ball out quickly. He may not want to put as much pressure on that calf as he needs to launch one deep and make those velocity throws downfield into the sideline. So you have to try. I think you press, you bring pressure, you force him to get the ball out immediately and play tight and hope to disrupt timing. On the offensive side of the ball, line up in shotgun, run Tyjae Spears, use the Titans like to do zone, this and that. I want to see traps. I want to see whams with the tight end. I want to catch an aggressive defense coming up field too far. I want to be able to have Tyjae Spears in the backfield and toss the ball out to him and all those defenders that are trying to crash inside to stop the inside zone. I want to use that against them and go around them. I want the Titans to do that. Will allow them to throw the ball more. I think running the ball with Tyjae Spears and throwing the ball with Derrick Henry on the field, that is what the Titans need to do more of. So,
Are you sure you want to keep Tyjae Spears in Nashville and he can't just come back with the Bengals? Are you sure?
Right. No, it's funny because a lot of Titans fans were unhappy with the pick early because of the medical concerns. And I'm like, the harsh reality here is you don't keep a running back more than about 4 years anyway in today's NFL. After you're going to draft another one by then. So I wouldn't worry about long-term ACL issues. The guy's explosive. But yeah, I just think you need an explosive running back. On a good team with a good offensive line, Derrick Henry's the better running back. On a team like the Titans with a bad offensive line, Tyjae Spears is the better running back because he can get out of pressure hitting him in the backfield, and Derrick Henry needs that runway. So for me, it's all about breaking your tendencies against, like Jake said, against a team that knows you very, very well. The Titans need to come out and look totally different because even a good game in the version that people expect from the Titans doesn't beat this Bengals team. We have learned that countless times. So be different, and on offense, challenge them. Be more aggressive, not less aggressive because you're scared. That's the only, to buck what the Titans normally would do in this matchup is the only thing they can do to win it, is to not be themselves.
Hey, James, let's get some score predictions going here. You hinted at it very strongly, maybe more than a hint. You spoiled it a little bit. What's your score prediction this weekend in this game?
No, because I actually expect more points than we got on Monday Night Football. So there you go. I think it'll be a tight one. It's going to be physical. I still think the Bengals, the pressure's on the Bengals. It's weird because these two teams, one in the Titans, it just feels like it's inevitable that they're going to go in a certain direction, even if they were able to win Sunday. And I certainly think they're capable. But you hear Tyler over there. I don't think that they're thinking they can make a run at the AFC title game. And so the pressure's still on the Bengals to keep their head above water, stay afloat. I think they're comfortable playing in Nashville. You're right. Third straight year. I think that matters. And they find a way to get it done behind this defense. Joe Burrow makes just enough throws, enough plays on offense. Joe Mixon continues to run hard. We know what Jamar Chase brings. And T. Higgins, well, he likes Nissan Stadium a lot. That's his home state. Loves playing there. I think he has a pretty good game as well. Bengals find a way and win by a touchdown, 23-16.
Tyler, are you close?
I am not close to that, but it's the opposite direction of what Titans fans certainly will want to hear. I think the truth is right now with this offensive line, the entire offense is disjointed. I think that the Titans have played some excellent defenses, but the Bengals are an excellent defense against the Titans. So I just think the Titans have struggled against the Bengals for a long time now. There's something there that just is not going to be broken. And I have more faith in Joe Burrow to figure out the Titans quicker than the Titans can figure out the Bengals. So I think it's going to be 24-6. I think the Bengals offense really generates about 17 points, but a defensive turnover sets the Bengals up for an extra easy touchdown in this one. So I'm going to go 24-6. I think it's probably 10-6, 13-6 at halftime. And it looks like the Titans have a chance, but then the third quarter, where the Bengals really clamp down, I think there will be some distance there. So I'm gonna go 24-6 Bengals.
Sounds like a game script the Bengals would love. That's going to do it for this episode of Crossover Thursday. For more on this matchup, check out Locked On Bengals with James and myself, Jake Liscow, on the Locked On Bengals channel, or Locked On Titans with Tyler for that perspective. And that's going to do it for Crossover Thursday. Thanks for listening on the Locked On Podcast Network.